How many children are in the school?
Right now we are sitting at 1,000.
How many children per class?
92.
Teaching is not just about the subject that you teach.
It's way more. This child is not focusing. When you follow up that maybe this child has not eaten, there's so many things that's trying to hinder what you come here to do. I'm here to teach you, but I cannot teach you when you are not in a state of mind that's ready to actually process what I'm about to teach you.
Hi, I'm James Barnard. I'm the founder of Luma Learn. There must be a way that learners in a private school and learners in a rural setting can have the same educational platform. You guys ready to use Luma?
When I grow up, I want to be a nurse and help people.
Luma is an educational platform on WhatsApp. We thought about charging, 40 Rand, 30 Rand a month. And we just thought, geez, when we arrived at Mtombo the first time, we get there and the kids are dishing up rice and beans.
When I grow up, I would like to be a pilot.
You save the phone number, you send it a message, it responds to you just like a normal person. A big misconception is the 30% pass rate. The reason there's a higher certificate is that... Say that again, sorry. Everyone's bashing the 30% like it's such a terrible thing. But people don't understand. There's so many different ways to make money these days. If you cut out that 30% pass rate, you can't...
I'm going to start off with a stat here. Did you know students in South Africa's top 200 schools achieve more distinctions in maths than the next 6,600 schools combined? That's how big the education gap is between well-funded and underprivileged schools. There are other staggering stats. I think it's the one that everybody knows now is the reading for meaning.
Yeah.
Up to grade 4s. I think the stats is the grade 4s, 81% of the grade 4s can't read for meaning in South Africa.
That's crazy.
Yeah, for me, if you take matric learners, all of them are at different levels, different reading levels. So how do you get them to the same level if they're already in matric? It's a systematic problem that starts at early childhood development. So unfortunately, there isn't much intervention you can do once a learner gets to matric. But we have to realize that enough is enough, and let's make a difference at early childhood development.
Early childhood development is crucial. I mean, we did see some good matric results now, but the minister did mention that the foundation phase is crucial, and there is still a significant lack of equality in that education space.
Yeah.
Especially in South Africa. I mean, you mentioned off air that we have one of the largest spends per person.
Yes.
So we've got one of the largest spends per person, per student in South Africa.
With one of the lowest returns on investment.
With one of the lowest returns on investment.
That's wild. I also saw that they say more than 50% of grade 1 learners don't even know the alphabet in South Africa. It's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, boo. Jeez. That time you're still saying ba, ka, da. You don't even know it.
So James, that's the state
of education
in South Africa. How did Luma come about?
Yeah, so Luma it really is a fireside story. My girlfriend's dad lives in Mozambique, and him and his right-hand man, Fernando, who's a Mozambican, were sitting around the fire New Year's Eve in 2022. And Andre is a very philanthropic, philosophical guy. He just, he wants to help people. And he said to Fernando, if I gave you all the money in the world, what would you do with it? And Fernando looked at him and said straight away, I would educate my children. And the next morning, New Year's Day, I had a few pina coladas the night before. Mm-hmm. So I was, next morning, 7 o'clock, I get a call from my girlfriend's dad, and I said, I better take this, So I answer the phone, and he tells me the story, and he says to me, can you make it happen? All of a sudden, that sickness that I was feeling was gone.
Yeah.
And I realized, I have to make a plan. I have to make this happen. And I realized, how do you make this happen? How do I educate Fernando's kids? How do I educate Fernando as well? Because he never had the privilege of being educated himself. He's a small-scale farmer in Mozambique, and he works for Anjay. He makes enough, just to get by. But his dream is to educate his children, not to buy a fancy house, not to get his dream car, but to educate his children. So I sat with the idea for 6 months, and then I put a team together to get going on what this platform or company would look like. And we thought, geez, why is this still a problem in this day and age? We've got so much technology. We've got AI that has just come out. Why is it such a big problem still? And we realized that people aren't focusing on rural communities. Everyone is focusing on where the money is. And at the end of the day, you can't blame them because everyone has to make money and everyone has to eat. But I think there is a way to develop a platform where you can have both. There must be a way that learners in a private school and learners in a rural setting can have the same educational platform.
Okay.
And that's how we got to Luma.
And what is it exactly when you get into it? I mean, you speak AI. We briefly saw how it works, but if you can just give us a little bit more meat there.
Yeah, so what I noticed with a lot of companies these days, everyone is AI this, AI that. It's overused, it's overkilled. It's not like, oh, my fridge uses gas. No one says that, So why must every company say, oh, this uses AI, it uses that? Eventually it'll wear off. So what we did was we thought, how do we build a platform where we can mask AI so that there isn't, so people don't want to not adopt it because they're scared of AI or something. So we thought, can we make education as simple as messaging a friend? So, okay, how do we do that? We looked at WhatsApp, one of the most used apps across Africa. So we built this educational platform on WhatsApp. All the learners have to do is save the phone number, send it a message. There you've got access to everything you need to succeed.
That's insane.
Any age?
Yeah, so at the moment with our pilot case, we've only got grade 8 to 12, but we've got grade 1 to 12 launching soon. The problem we found was that a lot of learners from grade 1 to 10 don't have access to phones, but their parents have got access to phones. And when we first launched Luma, the first response from the teachers was, why are you trying to replace us?
Yeah.
So I thought, hang on, we're not trying to replace you, we're trying to help you. So we dove a bit deeper and we decided, okay, there's 3 key stakeholders in the education system. Forget the education department, forget Luma, forget Microsoft, forget Google. Parents, teachers, and learners. Those are the 3 most important stakeholders in the system. How do we build a platform that all of them can use at the same time? So when you sign up for Luma, you select whether you're a parent, teacher, or a learner, and then you tailor your learning experience from there. So teachers get access to learning plans. They can, plan a whole lesson. They can generate tests. They can do everything. And parents can now go home. Their kid comes home from school. They've got maths homework, and they look at the maths homework. They've got no idea what's going on because they never went to school themselves. All they do is they go into Luma. They ask the question on Luma. It sends a message back, not only with the answer, but explaining how to get to the answer and how to teach their child.
Jeez.
So all of a sudden, everyone has got a one-on-one tutor.
Yeah.
Whereas previously, if you go to a school in a rural community, there might be 60 of you in a class and you can't ask a question. I mean, you've got a 45-minute lesson. There's 60 kids in a class. You don't even have a minute each. So how do you ask your question?
Let's be real, Josh. Let's be real for a second here.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about my parents when we were growing up. Obviously, let's call it the transition phase, born freeze. Some of the homework we used to get, I know it was tricky for them.
Yeah, sensational. Sensational.
I know it was tricky.
Ja.
Verlede tyd, toekomende saal.
Trappe van vergelijking.
Yeah, and we go algebra.
Yeah.
Dude, even geography.
Yeah.
I know that, at that time, you're sitting and you're in grade 2, 3, 4, 5. There's no point in asking my parents to help me. There's no point. But what it sounds like here is like nowadays, parents can actually go, all right, what's your homework? What's happening there, Sano? And then they can actually get into this tool and literally assist their kid in doing their homework.
Exactly.
I remember once I asked my uncle to help me with my homework, bro. And I thought, I'm going to school the next day. I'm getting 100% with this assignment. It was maths, bro. We just started doing long division.
Oh,
remember that
was
thing?
tricky.
Where you're pulling the numbers
that
down.
took me some
One of
time.
those.
That took me some
So
time.
I went to school next day feeling big man, you know. I've done long division, got 10 out of 10, yeah. My uncle works at the bank, bro, you know what I mean? There's no ways he doesn't know long division. Hand in your stuff at the end of the lesson, you know that story, cool. Hand it in, chuffed. End of school happens. Teacher says, Josh, we need to talk about your homework. Now I'm thinking, I've got a gold star here
was
for
too
sure.
perfect.
You know gold star, bro.
Yeah.
I'm thinking 100% got a gold star. It's chill. At school, you can get 10 out of 10, bro. It's not a chain smash. Bro, I got notes. So it wasn't me. It was my uncle, bro. The
but
long
you got
division.
notes.
That's what I'm saying.
So-
Schoolwork was never for us, bro.
So
Finished you. I got 0. Straight.
So point made here.
I'm sure you pull zeros as well.
No.
With your parents hitting homework.
I didn't pull zeros because my parents didn't help me with homework. Like I'm saying, it was just too tricky for them, so we had to figure it out ourselves. Okay, that's just how it was. That's how we were brought up there, you know. And I wish this tool was available,
Yo,
bro.
me too, bro.
If this tool was available, then they would have been able to help. But at the same time, it can benefit teachers. I mean, the school we went to that other day, they mentioned how many people are in a classroom. So you think about, dude, how does a teacher get to teach up to 90 kids in a classroom and just ensure that the 90 kids concentrate? I mean, Josh, if you were part of the 90, if I was part of the 90, that class it's closing down.
Yeah.
The way it would be disruptive.
Yeah.
It would have closed down, and that's just 2 of us.
Yeah.
So like that's where this thing comes in handy now.
Well, that's the thing. So everyone's learning at a different pace.
Yeah.
And there'll be kids learning really fast, there'll be kids learning really slowly. They're slowly getting the concept, they want to ask a question, but they also might be too scared to ask the question. You know,
Yeah.
everyone was shy at school. You know,
Yeah.
you're sitting in accounting or economics or whatever,
Yeah.
and you want to ask a question so badly, but you don't want to look stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they would come.
That
for
was
you.
that was one of the worst things that could happen at school, when you answer a question confidently and you dead wrong. Now everyone's finished. That was second to having the flu and coughing at school. That was probably top 2. Top 2.
And they would come for you, the
Hard.
guys. Yeah.
No,
All right.
exactly. So now you go home and you've still got this question in your mind, it's bothering you. You go, you ask Luma, say, hey Luma, please explain this to me. It explains it to you in your language.
Yeah.
So whatever language you speak to, Luma responds in that
there
language.
we go.
And if you say, I don't quite understand, give me a practical example. Gives you a practical example. If you still don't understand, say, give it to me in a simpler, explain it in a simpler manner. Explains in a simpler manner. And what we found was a lot of the learners, so in Popomeni, they're in Mtombo, they have to write their tests in English, but their home language is Zulu. So they can switch between English and Zulu and grasp the concept in Zulu and then switch back to English, which is big for understanding. So if you're doing physics and you can't quite get the concept because you don't understand all the words, you just do it in your home language and you switch back to English. So at the same time, you're improving your English.
So James, this is it's beautiful. It really is. It's a cool tool, and you can see how it benefits the children. But then you have to ask yourself, okay, how do you get children who are underprivileged cell phones to use WhatsApp? Like how, and then there's data costs on top of that.
No,
so
exactly.
how do you manage yourself around that?
No, good question. So I'll tell you one of the most like heartbreaking moments for me on this journey. I've seen a lot of terrible things, but my co-founder and I, Matt, we were traveling from Pietermaritzburg all the way to Northwest, and we were stopping at random schools along the way, because you can't, if you phone these schools and say, can I come and see you, no one answers the phone. So you just got to rock up and say, hey, I'm here, I've got this, you know, can I come and show the kids? So I'm like, yeah, maybe come back tomorrow, whatever. Okay, it's fine, and we just leave it and move on to the next school. And we get to the school between the Free State and Northwest, middle of nowhere, and we go to the school, and it's a beautiful school, you know, as far as a low quintile school goes. And we show the learners, but first we had to give them a hotspot. That's one of the things. And everyone's so excited. They start saying, oh, they can get their past papers, they can get textbooks, they can get summaries, they can ask any question they like. And then there was one boy sitting in the front who was just sitting there quietly. And I said to him, what's wrong? What's happening? He said, no, I don't have a phone. So I thought, hey, now we've built this thing. We think it's great, but there's still guys who are going to be left out. And in that moment, I was like, geez, we have to do something about this. So we want to start a phone drive. So if you own a company or you work at a company, go to your boss, say, let's start a phone drive for Luma. And because I'm sure everyone's got a phone lying around at home in the cupboard, hey, maybe I need it for a rainy day, and that rainy day never comes, because let's be honest, if your iPhone breaks, you're going to go and buy another iPhone, most people. So we want to do a phone drive, collect phones from schools, universities, businesses. And then the second part of the problem is that how do we give them to the kids? Because let's say I start giving kids phones, they're going to start selling them, They've got nothing. I wouldn't blame them if they start selling phones. Other problem is theft. We were at Mtombo and one of our top learners, because we can see how many messages each kid sends. And one of the girls sent over 600 messages. And I said, oh, how are you enjoying it? I wanted to show us how she was using it. She says, I don't have my phone. I said, wow, what happened? She says, no, it was stolen. So I thought, no, this problem is bigger than I thought.
Yeah.
So the next challenge is figuring out logistically how we're going to make it work. I think the easiest way might be to donate them to the schools, but then schools have got policies where you can't have your phone in school. So there's so many different things that we have to navigate. But I'm sure we'll figure it out.
Yeah, because that's going to be the key challenge. It's having the cell phone at school. It's taking the cell phone home and making sure it's not getting stolen. It's the transport. It's like, walking from a school back home, you can get mugged.
Exactly.
I mean, you want this to be worldwide, countrywide.
Yes.
So, and we know we've got a crime situation. It just sounds like it's gonna be difficult.
Luma
but
versus
there's
SA.
basically
That's what it is. Bro.
You say that's why we've built for teachers, parents, and learners. Her phone's been stolen, but her parents have phones. She can go home and she can learn on her parents' phone.
Bro, I remember being at school and cell phones were literally on the same level as narcotics. You'd go to school with the cell phone, and then there's raids at our school. We used to have raids.
Yes.
Prefects are coming, bro. You have to stand up, split your legs, empty your blazer for a cell phone.
Yep.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
That was a proper problem.
Yes.
But if you put your phone here, as a guy, you just said, then you would never get caught ever, because you can't. You can't touch me there.
Maybe the answer is partnering up with somebody who makes phones, but this phone only is a WhatsAppable phone. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like the feature of the phone, you can't do anything but it's a WhatsApp phone.
Like a computer, because I've got WhatsApp on my computer.
Yeah.
So that would be sick as well. Like if each classroom just had a computer or like a main computer that had the WhatsApp thing that the teacher could obviously access. So the kids are not really playing, because when you have a phone in school, bro, you also mess around.
If you think about it, we also when we went to the school, the one kid mentioned that, when I get home, I have a question for the teacher,
I see.
and I can't now ask the question. I was in a class of 90 people. Now I get home, this is the perfect time to use this thing to ask the question. But now if you've got the computer, it's so difficult.
It's a catch-22.
It is. But I think you guys will navigate yourselves around that. Good luck with that.
I think we've done pretty well so far.
Yeah.
If I just give you a success story, one of our top learners, he's in Rosetta in KZN, and he sent Luma over 800 messages. So he's asking all the questions he can't ask in class. And you don't send 800 messages just for fun. You'd rather be texting your girlfriend or something.
Yeah,
for sure.
But instead he's sitting there sending Luma 800 messages.
Sure.
And it's just answering all the questions that he needs. It's sending him his past papers, his textbooks, his summaries. And the nice thing about it is that he can then learn offline, because he's asked all those questions already. You can go into the chat, search this. He can see exactly how it was explained to him. And all the PDFs are also stored on his phone. So Yeah, the data thing, the nice thing about WhatsApp is everything is compressed.
Yeah.
So you can download a textbook for 4.5 megabytes, a 500-page textbook,
Yes.
which is insane.
That is
And then
wild.
it's always there on your phone. And the thing is, there's a lot of really good apps out there, a lot of good ed tech apps.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the kids don't want to download more apps. They don't have space on their phones. You know, they want their
Yeah.
TikTok, their Instagram,
Yeah.
Facebook, all of those things. They want to have all their photos saved. So why would they go and download another app? You know, it's
I think this product is not only applicable to the lower LSM, like how you're saying it, because I think this could actually work really well in the middle market as well, with parents who work 9 to 5s, don't have time to take their kids to a tutor. Because lots of kids, I mean, who are like from a middle income household also need tutoring and need that stuff, and they've got access to cell phones and all of that. So I think pitching it to like, what do you call it? Model C schools now? What are they?
So the thing is, well, let me let you finish. Sorry.
yeah. Well, just to touch on that, a lot of the lawyers and stuff that we worked with in developing Luma,
Yeah.
their children go to private schools,
Yeah.
and they say to me, "Can my son sign up for Luma?" So I said, "Yeah, of course, but why would your son need Luma?"
Yeah.
So he says, "No, he's got learning. You know, he's got problems with physics and maths and things." So I said, "Well, what if he goes to a private school? Why does he need help with this?" I said, "We didn't build it for them, but it's a problem across the board."
Yeah.
And the thing is, also people are reserved. You know,
Yeah.
so you get a tutor, you shy. You're not going to ask the question that you should ask. But now you're sitting there with a phone and you can ask the questions perfect. And the thing is, tutoring is expensive. You
It
know?
is.
I really think tutoring is making a big difference for those who can afford it. But for those who can't afford it, it's just out of reach. I mean, some
Yeah.
tutors will charge 450 Rand an hour.
Yeah.
You know? Not many people can afford that. But we, in doing a lot of market research, we found a study that a guy named Benjamin Bloom did in 1984 called the 2 Sigma problem. So basically what it was, he did a study on learners learning in a classroom, so 1 to 30, and then learners learning one-on-one with a teacher. And the result was obvious. Obviously, the guys who had one-on-one teaching did better. But he called it the 2 Sigma problem because it's not feasible. How can you give, there's 13 million K-12 learners in South Africa, how can you give every single person their own tutor? But now with Luma, we can make that possible.
What do you mean when you say K-12 learners?
So grade 1 to 12.
Oh,
I was like K53.
yeah. I was
One of
thinking
those,
my
like a
learner's
book.
book there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of those.
Yeah.
But-
is that what it is?
Yes.
But you see, Josh. So what I wanted to tell Josh is that yes, it is a product, but it's not something you can buy. Like, how much do you? Like, you can't.
Oh, so there's no price. That's I
There's
don't know.
no price.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what I was-
So that's a bit of a catch-22 that we had, because a lot of edtech platforms start as, you know, philanthropical. They want to make education accessible, and they just run into roadblock after roadblock, and they're like, okay, they start charging. And we thought about charging, you know, 40 Rand, 30 Rand a month, and we just thought, geez, when we arrived at Mtombo the first time, we get there and the kids are dishing up rice and beans, you know. So how we can't charge them 30 Rand. But we then realized, okay, there's a problem. Some learners in private schools also need help. Let's develop the IEB version. So now we've just finished developing the IEB version, and it's going to be
Sick.
available really soon.
You see,
And it's got some
You see,
insane features.
that's the
Now-
one.
It's
now
got
the
some
that's the
insane
one
version
features.
You
will
must
fund
pay.
will
Yes.
fund the
Yeah.
So
the-
that's the thing now. So
you could put BIS for, what was it, 200? Surely you can get the IB version on your phone. I would have signed up if I knew about this thing.
Exactly. Well, if you look at that stat I just read out
Yeah.
about the 6,600 schools of the top
Yeah.
200, it makes perfect sense
Yes.
for it to be in that proportion,
Yeah.
where we're giving the 6,600 schools accessibility to this thing that the IEB students will have, so that
Yeah.
the quality of education gets better.
exactly.
The IB
Exactly.
syllabus though, is it, for me, just having reference to, what do you call it, the government syllabus?
Yeah, caps. Yeah,
Caps.
Yeah.
There is quite a
There's
gap between the
there's
two.
a significant difference. So we thought, so how Luma works is it responds based on the CAP syllabus. So we've got a database with all the CAPS documents you can
So the
imagine.
accent changes, bro, for the government. You're giving us.
Yeah, maybe. I hope that doesn't happen. You never know. But no, I'm joking. IEB is very different.
Yeah.
Very, very different. That's why we have to develop a completely different platform.
Sure.
Also, the textbooks are very expensive. So
Yeah.
that's also getting the material,
Yeah.
you're going to have to charge for those type of things. So, but yeah, it's also, if you can afford for your child to go to Hilton College, for example, what is, you pay 200 Rand a month, a large portion of that is educating a child just down the road in Popomeni. It's, we've really designed it in a way that every South African can play their role. So we realize that a WhatsApp platform isn't going to change education, but a WhatsApp platform that creates a community where everyone can play their part, that can change education. So parents can use it to teach their kids. Teachers can access resources because teachers are so under-resourced. And just to clear this up, everyone thinks our teachers are terrible. I mean, Chaka, you met Anele. She is so passionate. I've met so many teachers like Anele, and she's forced to take on so many more roles than just a teacher. She has to be a mother. She has to, she has to be that person who someone can go to with a problem. There's just so many burdens that she has to take on.
The reality in those types of schools is hectic because like James is saying, this is a person who studied to be a teacher, who knows what her role should be when it comes to teaching, but there's so many other stumbling blocks she faces before she even gets to do her core job.
Yeah.
And it's things like people are not fed at home. It's just, it's sad, man. It really is sad. And you can see, I don't know how you remain so passionate to work when you're in that situation. So yeah, that's where that platform will come in handy, though.
No, exactly. And then the other side of the coin is, so how did all the other South Africans get involved? We quantified it to the point where if you donate a coffee a month, so if you go to Starbucks, whatever, if you can just forego one of those coffees, you can educate a child. So all of a sudden, if you're too busy to go to a school and volunteer to read to a child, whatever, it's okay, just donate a coffee. You've educated a child for a month. And we've got the data to back up that it works. If someone's sending over 800 messages, they're learning.
Yeah.
And one of our key partnerships is with the Northwest University. And the reason we're with the Northwest University is because of the rural economies around each campus. And we'll be doing research this year on the impact AI will have in education. Now, just to reiterate again, we don't advertise as an AI platform. It's completely separate. But last year we reached just over 8,000 learners without even advertising.
Sure.
So you go to our Instagram page, Facebook page, there's nothing. Absolutely nothing. All we did was grow from word of mouth. Went to a few schools, said, here, use this. All of a sudden, they start sharing it across the country. It was insane. We had learners every single province somehow just start using Luma.
Where's the most remote place that you've checked?
Northern Cape, some funny place there. I've never heard of this place. I was like, cheap, that is insane.
Kuruman.
Kopapa.
Not Kuruman, it was even worse. But
Kopata. What was have you heard of that place?
I've never heard of that
Bro,
place.
the most wild places I've heard about in South Africa is when I've seen people who are becoming like an intern or doctors. The positions of places. Like you think, you're from KZN, and then like Durban, Hillcrest, Maritzburg, and then you're just seeing names that you've never.
There's a place like Puff Adder or something. I was like, jeepers.
There's some crazy places that we just don't know about. Obviously, we need to open our minds a bit more and realize that there's more out there than what we have. But
it's a big country,
huge,
and that's the thing. So it's not feasible for us to go to every single school. I mean, there's thousands and thousands of schools. I don't have enough years, to go and visit every single school. It's impossible.
Let's talk about the back end quickly of this thing. You guys grab all of this information from where to put it into what so that it pushes out what?
Yeah, good question. So people always say to us, how do you know the response is correct?
Yes.
And we've collected a database of as much K-12 material as we can on the CAP syllabus. So when a learner signs up, they must select with what grade they're in, what subjects they do, so that the learning experience is tailored to them. So a grade 8 learner is not going to receive the same response as a matric learner is going to receive. Because, I mean, if you talk about algebra, you know, you can talk about it from grade 9 all the way to grade 12. But the level is different. And what a lot of platforms do is they just open source it to like ChatGPT, for example. So the level of your response is going to be wild. You know, the grade 8 is not going to understand it. So that's why it's so crucial for us to. So we've got in the back end, we have different folders for grade and subject, so that just for that reason. So grade 8s don't get the same response as matrics, because then they can't use it. I mean, what's the point?
So it kind of tailors the way it answers you based on your grade.
Yes, and then obviously also whether you're a teacher, parent, or a learner, which is crucial.
Yeah,
And
that
language.
is important because
Yes.
obviously there's different, like a teacher would ask very differently to my mom.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, a teacher already knows the answer, kind of.
Yeah.
But teachers are more looking for access to resources.
Yeah.
And sometimes a child will ask a question that the teacher might not know the answer to.
Yeah.
Or she might not, or he or she might not know how to explain it best.
Yeah.
So they can ask, hey, please help me explain it to this child. And it'll teach the teacher how to explain it in a better way.
This could also crack with homeschooled kids, bro.
Yeah.
Like this sort of a platform I think would work so well because I know quite a few parents that homeschool their kids.
Yes.
And when
And apparently they that's growing now.
that's growing. Like
Yes.
more and more people don't want to send their kids to school. And then they like homeschooling, and I think something like this
Would it work?
clutch.
Oh, it'll definitely
Clutch.
work. 100% will work.
Especially because there's some of my bros teaching their kids, bro.
feeling like
and
a
I just
cheat
don't
code,
trust
yeah.
that.
But what do you
I don't
guys think
trust
of homeschool? I mean, you guys all went to school, you know.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think of homeschool?
Well, personally, I prefer going to a school.
Yeah.
100%.
There's just something about learning from other
Socializing.
social
Yeah.
behaviors.
Yeah, you need to be socialized.
Yes.
I remember, bro,
So for
back
me,
in my
that's it.
day, I don't know if it was the same for you, but there was like, I finished school in 2012, right? So that's some time ago. There were some kids that used to come play like sport with us. They were homeschooled, but those kids were weird.
Really?
Bro, like
We never had
they were
that.
just very very unsocial.
100%.
Bro, like they would come play cricket with us, but bro, the Oaks are just different, bro. They just the homeschool kids. If you know, you know. You know what I mean? Like they'd pull up to cricket, bro, and this Oak is just.
Did you guys play club soccer when you were laties, like Savages
Yeah,
or
yeah,
Common
yeah,
Years or
yeah, I
something?
did.
Yes.
I
Yes,
did.
so we always had a few like homeschool kids.
You
'Cause, like
see.
everyone knows everyone because you know you play against each other. Like I
Exactly.
went to Pelham, so I'd play against Merkson. I know everyone. And we get to club soccer on a Friday. Like, who's this guy?
Jono.
Yeah, and you're like, and he just doesn't fit in. You know,
They're
I
not
don't
they're
know.
not socialized.
But-
and I
Yeah.
remember it being like that at school
But that's
as
why
well.
they go to club sports.
Exactly,
you know?
but I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's not enough.
No, it's not
It's not
enough.
enough
No.
because the kid. I feel like you have to be in a school system.
Yes.
I'm not saying I hate homeschooling or I'm against it, but I just feel like you learn a lot more. It's education is a lot. I mean, school's a lot more than just education.
Yeah.
It's about making you like a person, all in all. You know, and sometimes you can't learn that stuff from just being at home.
I agree. It would be interesting to hear from a homeschooler why they.
I don't think they do public appearances. But I'm joking. I'm joking. No, but I'm just saying. You know what I mean, though. Yeah, I know what you mean. But I'm just saying, those guys from school, if you met them, bro, I promise you they were just otherwise, bro.
Public appearances.
Yeah, bro. They were
Oh
just,
my gosh.
I've never, personally, I went to a co-ed school. There was never a homeschool kid that tried to chop a girl from school as well. Like, they were never trying to, like, just chat up a chick, bro. They were just like,
minding their own business.
doing
and-
Rubik's Cube, you, bro. Like,
No, I think sometimes as parents, I mean, I'm looking at my kid right now.
Yeah.
I'm thinking these are wild. He's
Yeah.
wild. I can't get him. I can't control him right now. So I'm, but he's 2, so don't stress.
Baby boy.
But you're just thinking, what if this oak turns 7, 8, 9, 10, and he's the same disruptive oak? You might as well just pull him out and homeschool
keep
him.
him at home.
Because he is
Chaos.
millions.
But, you know,
But everyone, yeah.
everyone goes to
Yeah.
that. But when he gets
Yeah.
to school, he'll start seeing, if you keep him at home and he's able to
run through the walls and all of that, right? Because I think he's capable. Yeah. I'm just saying, when he gets to school and you see how other kids are behaving, you sort of realize, okay, this is the way we've got to behave in the library. Like for all of us here, when we walked in and we realized we're shooting a library, we're like, shh. You know what I mean? Whereas the homeschool kid will just start singing. Like, bro, what are you doing?
I thought about all the book reports I had to write in the books I didn't read, you know.
There you go. You see, and if that app existed, you know how well I would do at orals, bro, at school. Because I used to go and read like the book, because we used to get novels every term at school to read for English. I'm sorry to my English teacher if you watch this episode. I don't know if you watch it. I never read a single book from grade 8 to matric. There was always those. There were always those summaries. You know the chapter summaries.
Yes,
Good night,
100%.
Mr. Tom. Walk about, walk along. All of those, boy. I was just reading those. If I had this app, bro, I would have finessed matric, 8 distinctions, studied medicine. You never know.
Yes, and
That's my life.
that's. I mean, I wish I had it. What about university level?
That's the one.
Sure.
Because now that's where we need.
That's where we need you,
papers
because
and-
we don't even go to lectures, bro.
Yeah. What
So
about university level?
that's a tough one because every university is different.
Yeah.
So you all write different tests.
Yeah.
End of year final exams
Yeah.
are different. But so Luma was shared with a Swiss doctor, for one of the biggest open distance learning universities in Switzerland. And he saw Luma and he said, well, I want them to be part of an international study. So he invited us to develop an education platform for tertiary education students that is economically viable for African students, but also academically beneficial for Swiss students. So now we have to figure out how do we make this possible, because it's Northwest University and then a university in Uganda and then the Swiss university. And we thought, cheapers, okay, what are we going to do? So we're in the process of developing the tertiary education platform, because I had the same problem. You know, you go from school where you can go and ask your teacher all these questions you like, get a good understanding. Next year you go to varsity.
Lecturer.
There's 200 of you in the class.
Unavailable.
The lecturer is unavailable. You can't ask. You send an email 10 times, no response.
No.
Instead, go into Luma, for example, ask a question you want. Oh, it's explained nicely. But one of the problems that we found in developing this platform is that with university, if you don't give the exact word-for-word answer, it's wrong. So I finished studying last year, and in my labor relations module, one of the questions was list 5 main reasons for unemployment. So I said, okay, cool, list my 5 reasons. Nice, explain it perfectly. Get the paper back, all wrong.
That's how equal
Yeah,
used
bro,
to mess me up.
Wrong.
What were your answers?
Really good answers.
Like, just give me 3.
Oh, you can say crime.
Crime.
What is the question again? You see, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, but anyway.
Unemployment.
In the South African context,
In the
and
South
you didn't
African
answer.
No,
Five
I
main
answered very
reasons.
well.
You
don't
have to
worry.
know someone
So
who
anyway, I
works
was
there.
like,
You
so
have
that
to.
was the one module I didn't get a distinction from. So I'm not chuffed. So I went back, rewrote, parrot learned. There I get
Distinction.
92% for the exam.
Yeah.
But today I can't list those 5 things. You know what I mean? So
Parrot learning.
Exactly. Parrot learning is
That's how the
shocking.
school syllabus is, bro.
That's bad.
Like, if you
It's-
think about it, the kid who could parrot learn from grade 1 to matric, other than maths, I would say, right? Smashed school.
100%.
Smashed.
100%.
Smashed.
Dude, James.
That's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
It's a systematic problem. You know, for me, everyone wants the syllabus to change. I've been hearing the syllabus is going to change since I was in school. Nothing's happening. We went to Mtombo. A lot of the kids, they want to do things like woodwork. They want to do practical things, you know. The problem in South Africa is that we don't have enough vocational based subjects. So vocational is like plumbing, woodwork, things like that. So imagine now those kids in Mtombo, there's not enough desks. So there's 3 kids sharing 1 desk. Imagine you get to grade 10, you start building desks for your school.
Yeah, mad scenes.
Hey? Imagine that.
That would be insane.
And what about a whole entrepreneurship subject?
Bro, because then you're solving for X in matric,
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
But you don't know how to file taxes till SARS send you an email. Final demand.
100%.
You know what I mean? That
I get
anxiety
those
attack you get
emails.
when it says SARS final demand. Couldn't you teach us this in matric at least?
But think if you got, so there's over 1,000 kids in Mtombo. Imagine, let's say there's 100 take entrepreneurship. One good business can employ that whole school.
Fair.
Because the problem that Anelia always says to us, she says the kids will pass matric,
And then
they
what?
might get a bachelor's, and then what do? She says, they go work at the shopping centre, or they just sit at home, or they have to move off somewhere, find a job. They end up, squatting somewhere. There isn't a clear path once you finish matric.
Part of the system.
And
just go back
a big misconception is the 30% pass rate. So there's three, you get the bachelor's pass, the diploma, and the higher certificate. So everyone's bashing the 30% like it's such a terrible thing. But people don't understand why we have a higher certificate. It's so that when you finish matric with that 30% pass, but in doing that, you have to get 3 subjects above 40%, including your home language. So it's not as easy as people think.
Say that again, sorry, slowly.
So 3 subjects above 40%, one of them has to be your home language. Above 40%, yes.
But then the rest you can do 30%.
Yeah, 30% for 3 others, and you can fail 1. But the reason there's a higher certificate is that if you go to, let's say, Rosebank College, for example, they offer higher certificates in digital marketing. Those kids can go do a 1-year certificate, and they can, there's so many different ways to make money these days. But if you cut out that 30% pass rate, there isn't really a route for those kids.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, you can't get rid of the 30% pass until we have a school system that works. A school system where there are enough subjects for every learner to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, at Marisburg College, I wanted to do economics, accounting, and business studies because I knew I was going to study business management. I send the form in, no, sorry, business studies isn't on the same line. You have to pick something else. So what nonsense is that? Yeah. So now I have to pick life sciences. I've got absolutely no interest in life sciences. So I'm going there and I'm like, okay, there are some interesting things, but I want to learn about business. Now I can't learn about business because it doesn't fall on the right line. No.
The only thing I loved about bio was the reproductive cycle. That was the best. Remember when you opened the book at school? Like we turn to page 3, there's boobs. Remember that?
I did physics.
Oh, that was a mad time. That was my favorite part of bio. Did you do physics?
Yeah.
And the mark?
Did you pass?
I made it through. High certificate. I made it through. James, bro, did you not, when you started this thing, you were like, revved up, keen, going, but then it sounds like as it got going, just the can of worms just opened up and your whole life must have flashed by you and you must have been like, what have I done here? Yeah. Because you've gone a certain distance, but it just looks like it's a mountain.
It's a lot
of more barriers and more
challenges,
speed humps. Yeah. So was there a moment where you were like, it actually
time to pack up?
Yeah. Let's call it a day.
Many times. So we had a first round of funding, which was enough to get through 6 months. But such a big problem, 6 months isn't enough time. And my co-founder Matt and another software engineer, they worked for 6 months, ran out of money, and I said to them, yes guys, I'm going to make a plan, I'm going to find money. Couldn't find money. They said, it's fine, we'll work for you until we get it to a point where you can get more money. And then fortunately I got a big massive donation from a farmer in Zululand, and he said, I believe in what you're doing, make it happen. So I said, okay, got the money. And I mean, there were times I was lying on my bed thinking, yes, what am I doing? I've now studied business management. The only reason I studied was to start a business. The other business has fallen apart. And I was like, geez, I'm gonna have to restart. I'm gonna have to go study law like my parents, all those things those things go through your head. It's the end of the world.
Yeah.
I thought, no, let me try one more time. So I went onto the university website and I found a whole lot of articles on open source education, and Northwest University has a big community engagement forum, and one of the ladies does a lot of work with the Pope, like the actual Pope. She met Pope Francis in November. Genuine.
Thank the Pope.
So I was like, okay, this is the lady. So I went and saw her. She said, who's this? I just found a number, because if you dig enough on a website, you'll find anyone's number. And so this is quite a Lani lady. Found a number, phoned her. Where'd you get my number? I said, no, on the website. Oh, really? So can I please come and see you? I've got this idea. And she said, okay, sure. Go show her. Hey, all of a sudden Luma changed. In a week, it just changed. Got some funding, started working at the university, and all of a sudden things were just going well. But I'll tell you guys a story that happened just before the podcast. So I get to the Shell garage here, and I bought a Red Bull and a water. Get to the counter, the lady says to me, oh, what does it say on your shirt? I said, Luma. She says, do you know what that means in Zulu? I said, yeah, it means bite.
Yeah.
So she starts laughing. She says, where can I buy a shirt like that? I said, no, it's not a clothing brand. It's an education company. She says, what do you mean? So I showed her. I said, she says, wow, really? I said, yeah. I said, talk to her in Zulu. She starts talking to her in Zulu. No.
Smokes.
So she says to me, please give me the number. My sister is in grade 10 and she needs help. So, okay, sure. I gave her the number. And she said to me, how much is it a month? I said, no, it's free. She says, how can that be? I said, no, if every other ordinary South African donates 40 Rand a month, then people like your sister can use Luma. You know what she says to me? Where can I donate?
Yeah.
A cashier at a garage, at a Shell garage says, where can I donate?
That's powerful.
So who are you to be earning millions and millions a year and you can't just forego that one little coffee,
$40, bro.
or that one little beer. Sometimes we might have one too many.
A little draft.
Just let's call it a night. Let me educate a child. And it's just one coffee a month. That's all it takes to educate a child. And the beauty of it is that we've structured it in a way to work on economies of scale. So once we get to about 500,000 learners, we can start doing the real work. We can start employing teachers. We can start building schools. We can start giving them sports grounds. Because why should only private schools have sports grounds? These kids also want to play soccer. They also want to play netball. They want to play rugby.
Yeah.
How do you get the next year Khaleesi if we don't give more kids the opportunities?
Yeah.
So it really is designed for everyone to play their part. And everyone can play their part.
Dude, this thing is going to be... It's going to be huge.
It's going to be massive.
I'm wishing you the best on how you manage all of the stuff that will come at you when it gets big. I'm talking like it's one of those things where even like this podcast, when we look at it, what's going to happen when it does get like but for you, this is we're not allowed to see you driving a Ferrari though, Mr. Luma.
No, I've got no desire to drive a Ferrari. Absolutely none.
For example, but
it's a question that people always ask me. Like how what are you going to do? Or like if it blows up, what do you do with the money? I said, well, I can't justify sitting in a fancy car when there's always one more thing to do. And there's one more learner to educate, one more learner that can go to university.
Sure.
I don't think I'd like to think that I wouldn't. And I'll say it now. I said, if I do ever get to that point and I'm like, I want to buy this nice car, I can come back and watch this and like, it's not why you started Luma. Because there was an opportunity where we could start charging people, let's say 100 Rand for Luma, and they would still use it. Because at 8,000,
I would have used it.
At 8,000 learners times 100 Rand, 800,000 Rand a month. Okay, it's not profit, but
800K a month.
Because there's a lot of overheads that you also have. You have like a team, you've got travel, you've got basic build up, electricity. There we go.
Cheap, a lot of expenses, marketing, brand guidelines, all of those things, getting everything in place. There's a lot of expenses that you don't realize. And so I'm sort of seen as a social entrepreneur.
Sure.
So a social entrepreneur's got two problems. You got to solve a socio-economic problem, and then you got to figure out who pays for it and how they pay for it. So we figured out the platform, it works. Now we've got to figure out how do we get it funded.
Sure.
And instead of focusing, there's a lot of non-profits that will get one big sponsor, but what if that sponsor goes bankrupt? Then that non-profit also falls under. But if every South African is donating 40 Rand a month, it's sustainable.
You know what I think you should do? You need to offer just a tiny bit of extra value to a person who would pay for it. What does that look like? I don't know, bro.
Yeah, so it's good that you said that, because we've found what that little extra is.
Yes.
It's just a matter of implementing it. But at the same time, what more does a child need?
Yeah.
It's explaining everything to you. You've got access to textbooks, access to summaries, access to your past papers. What more do you really need? There are a few really cool features that we found, out of stuff I was like, wow, okay, I didn't know that was possible.
Well, there you go.
So we'll implement them, but at the same time, is it really going to make that much of a difference? We'll soon find out.
I love it. So if someone is watching this right now and they're probably going to be in matric or grade 11, are they allowed to use it? Can we tell them how?
100%. So I should know the number off by heart by now. Yeah. But you can go to luma.africa on Instagram. You'll find the page there.
I think I've got it.
And
do you have the number?
Yeah. So the number just spread by word of mouth organically. So it'll be crazy to see what happens when we start marketing it.
Yeah.
You know?
Luma. Bite. 078 785 8164. Right?
Sounds correct.
078 785 8164. Try it out. Give us some feedback for James to have a look at. And yeah, maybe
get the
you'll
kids
learn from
involved.
that. And Oaks, if you are keen to, what if there are people who are keen to help? What do we say to them?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the easiest would probably be to go to our website, www.lumalearn.africa. We've got a page called Work With Us. So you'll see there's all sorts of ways that people can get involved.
Sure.
They can, provide us with some more academic content. Maybe they make a cool infographic or something like that. Students can test our latest features. So we don't release something until it works really well and we think it's going to make a difference. I think the biggest thing would be fundraising events. We want to start creating Luma chapters across South Africa where we can host fundraising events. And something that we haven't spoken about yet is expats. If you live in the UK or Australia or America, you're donating £2. £2 and you're
That's
educating
nothing.
a child for a month, and
That is.
I'd like to think that in 10 years' time, you can come back because I've never met someone happy that's living there.
We were discussing this
I've
the other
never
day.
ever met
real
someone
thing.
happy
This is
there.
a real thing.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean
They,
the moment
they
you
always want to come back.
They're always
bro.
talking about coming
Yeah.
home. Every
100%.
December, you hear. We're with you.
and education is a way to do that.
Yeah. Fair.
It's the only way to start. I mean, Mandela said the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world is education.
So that is where we're going to call it, but that is where we're going to start this season. Hey,
Episode 1.
James Barnard. Some crazy stuff.
Amazing.
Dude,
It's inspiring.
anything else you want to add, man? This is a
So
crazy
inspiring.
thing. I wish I had it in university.
Yeah.
Like seriously.
Bro, we didn't go to lectures even.
Dude,
Imagine we had this thing.
Yeah.
What about still pass?
Yeah, even TED Talks, this would be cool, man. You've got to show the world this thing.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Well, you talk about the world. The thing is, for us to scale into other countries, all we need is a phone number and the academic content,
Yeah.
and then we're in that country.
Yes,
Just
done.
like that.
That's crazy, bro.
Well done, man.
Well done.
Like really,
Well done.
really well done.
That is amazing.
Matt, well done as well. Co-founder
well done.
Matt. This is incredible stuff.
Yeah.
When Apalele Fasi was on this podcast, we told him he was going to be a Springbok.
Yeah.
Was that before it was a
Yeah.
Springbok?
That was before.
So if you look at him last year.
Yes.
Yo,
We telling you now, this thing is going to be insanely big. Well done, man. Yo.
thank you so much. And thank you so much for the opportunity. I've been waiting to let Luma loose. I'm just
Yeah.
waiting for the right opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
And I saw you your content last year throughout the year. And then when you told me when we met at the golf course that you had the load shed for, I was like, no ways. And all of a sudden I put 2 and 2 together. I was blown away. You guys have done some really incredible stuff and I can't
Thanks,
wait
man.
to see what happens in season 3.